This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yeah! Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
It's Thursday, April 29th. This is the Team of Rivals podcast, proud members of the Gateway City Sports Network. And I got to tell you, there's so much that we could possibly talk about. Our text chat was lighting up today because we finally have stuff to talk about on a show this week. The Cubs are still terrible, but Hennessy Cabrera is apparently a paid assassin and is actively trying to kill people. Jeff Bridich resigned from the Rockies, and the Cardinals obviously owe him a job. Yachty's hurt. Wainwright's hurt. On the DL. Did I mention the Cubs suck? The umps were terrible in Milwaukee yesterday. But what dominated our conversation before we jumped on the show late?
The Bears.
Gents, all I want to do is talk or football. But before we get into it, you can follow us online at teamrivalspodcast.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Team Rivals Podcast, and we're on Twitter at the Team Rivals Pod. For those of you watching us live, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and be sure to ring that bell on YouTube so that you receive notifications anytime we post new content. Joining me for tonight's show, permanent occasional guest host Elia Dewey, and number 48 in the 2020 edition of the Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall. Boys, look, we're a baseball podcast, but holy shit. The Bears traded up to number 11 in the NFL draft, and they selected the best available quarterback on the board. When was the last time the Bears made a move like this and made the right pick?
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm stunned.
It's an upset. We were talking about that before, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of, part of us is like, man, did they actually do it? And the other part of us is like, God, no, what are we going to bitch about?
Right?
Yeah.
And looking at what they traded, looking at what they traded for this, and I forget what the exact rounds were, but you look at what the Bears traded in order to get Trubisky, and then you compare it to what they traded this year in order to get Justin Fields. Night and day.
Crazy.
Like,
absolutely.
I don't understand why Ryan Pace gave away so much in 2017, especially when compared with this, because I think by any standard, Justin Fields is miles ahead of Mitchell Trubisky on draft day. And obviously we would hope that bears out in the years to come. But you compare Justin Fields 2021 with Mitchell Trubisky 2017.
Was that a pun? I mean, let's just go back like back 12 seconds, man. I mean, did you do that on purpose, or did you do it by accident?
I didn't, but it was impressive, wasn't it?
All right. I'm just knowing you planned that out. You worked that in there like 42 minutes before the show. You're like, I hope it bears out. Ooh, brilliant, Pete. I'm going to write that down. I just thought you would have done that. My bad.
I appreciate you giving me that much credit, Ron.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
It is.
I know. There is.
We would have figured that the Bears would have taken, either an offensive lineman or somebody else on defense, like a quarterback.
I know. I'm with you. I'm right there with you.
Well, they still need to take an offensive lineman because
that's true.
You have this very valuable asset. You need to protect him.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's still shocking.
Hey, I do want to talk about this because I called my son, and I'm telling you right now, like just FaceTime. Usually I FaceTime him before the show here, so I can talk to him before we're spend the rest of the night before we all crash. But he wouldn't even talk to me. I was never, and I know it wasn't televised and there wasn't as much access to it. I think draft days when we were kind of young football fans at least. But I mean, he wouldn't even acknowledge hardly that I was on the phone. I mean, he's just staring up at the screen, looking at his clock, freaking out. He's like, why are they talking about this? Just announce the damn pick. Because it said the pick was in for like 4 minutes before they actually read it. And he's just sitting there freaking out. It's like I don't even exist on the other end of the phone. He doesn't see me like every day. So I'd like to talk to him. The short amounts of time I usually get to talk to him each night. I tell you what, on draft day, I might as well just start blacking that one out because I'm getting nothing, man. I'm getting nothing. All I was doing was bothering him while he was just fixated on who these NFL teams were going to draft out of college. And I tell you what, I'm not like at the polar opposite end about this draft day stuff, but I'm just so meat tenderized by what the Bears have screwed up as far as quarterback positions. I just have no interest guys, in seeing what all the Bears competitors do better than the Bears.
Speaking of which, the rumor is that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play for the Packers.
That's crazy.
No.
That is crazy.
Could this be a better night for a Bears fan?
It would be a great night for a Bears fan. A horrible night for my son. And by the way, he says depending on how they do, he's like, I'm calling in for my own segment if the Packers screw up their draft. Okay.
What pick do they have?
I don't know. Elliot, you're asking the wrong
near the bottom.
You're asking the wrong pseudo football fan here because hold on.
So I'm looking at it. So unless my calculations are incorrect, which they very well might be, in order to get Trubisky, the Bears traded the number 3 pick, a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, and the 3rd round pick the following year. This year they traded the number 20 and next year's 1st, and then a 4th and a 5th to move up 9 spots. I
mean, that Fields would have been gone. Right? I mean, is it safe to say he'd be gone if they would have kept their original?
Yeah, he wasn't gonna make it all the way to. I don't think Fields and Jones were gonna make it all the way to 20 because the rumor was that the Patriots were pretty high on Justin Fields, so he wasn't gonna make it past the Pats.
So
it's about 29 for the Packers.
Okay.
I mean, the first 3 picks were quarterbacks. Am I correct about that? Yeah,
that is correct.
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I don't know if that really doesn't happen every year. At least it's not common, but. I mean, they kind of went in order, right? I think they went in position ranking order almost, where 1, 2, 3, and 4 quarterbacks, I think, got picked in that order. I know they weren't picks 1 through 4. I'm just saying, as quarterbacks are picked, they did go 1 through 4 based on their position ranking. So,
yeah. Although the Fields started out, and this is where I'm hopeful and optimistic. Fields started out the year as the 2nd-ranked quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence. So, great for Zach Wilson and Trey Lance that they showed out this year and were able to skip him. But I'm really, really hoping that this is one case where a player's slide down the draft actually benefits the Bears rather than screws them.
Well, I mean, Braden said something to me, but it all sounded like radio static to me. I didn't know because he was talking about football, college football especially, and I am just the wrong. I don't know. My wife's not watching us, so I don't know. I'm not worried about this. But it's a good night. Who said that? Is that your wife, Elliot?
Maybe.
Okay. I'll tell her good night. Give him a little peck on the cheek. It's okay. We'll allow it.
She can lean in.
Yeah, no,
did you guys do a fist bump?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw your forearm move over and I'm like, did you really just fist bump your wife before she went to bed? Okay. Well, that's awesome.
He punched her in the tit.
He was saying, I think we would have seen a fist coming back at his face had that happened. He was talking to me, and I heard nothing but radio static, so I don't know what was going on in the draft. He said there were a couple of surprises that went another direction. They went maybe a wide receiver or some other position or a cornerback, something on defense that kind of opened up that possibility, and the Bears jumped up on the opportunity to move up in the draft. And it's not we haven't seen them do it before. Obviously, they did it for Trubisky, but I tell you, like, okay, good. If this works out, great. I'll have something to cheer for that's football related finally, because I don't have much. So I'd be all welcome. But the other part of me, the dark part of me, says I wanted them to do it again, because there's just something about it that this ineptitude until they sell that team to like an owner, or until a group is heading that effort up, that's going to make a consistent effort to really make that great, to declare, like, plant that flag on that hill and say, we are not wasting another good defense in this town again, ever. We're not wasting careers, because they've done a very good job at wasting careers, like Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs,
I'll tell you
Khalil Mack. They need to say we're not going to waste Hall of Fame defensive careers anymore by just not doing as much as we know we need to for the most important position in all of sports, and that's quarterback.
The scary thing about it, though, is that the Bears only have, I think I read it's something like $1 million or $1.5 million under the cap, and the projection is that it's going to take about $9 million to sign all of their picks. Now, granted, they traded away their fifth round pick, or their fifth round pick this year.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you traded up from 20 to 11, and you selected a quarterback. So, I mean, they're going to have to let somebody go. And my fear is that it's going to be,
who I just said,
it's going to be Akeem Hicks.
Oh,
that's my fear.
Yeah.
And that the defense is going to suffer.
It'd be unfortunate, man. You finally get a Ferrari and you put a Cavalier engine in it or something. That's if you went to an auto shop that was headed by the Bears front office. That's exactly what you would get. It would look like a Ferrari, and it would have a Chevy. It would have it would have a Honda Civic engine under it once you pop the hood open. That's how they put football teams together. A lot of it looks great, but the most important part, that engine, they put a 3-cylinder Rabbit under the hood every year.
Yep. That's right.
Sorry, Elliot. I just completely swallowed Elliot on that one.
The second cylinder, though, has a cracked head.
Yes.
Yeah. And the one nice thing you had was really good leather interior, and that was Robbie Gold, and you opted for fabric.
Oh God,
that still hurts.
So
I don't know why that's so important, but it hurts.
So following up on that, the Pats just selected Mac Jones. So yeah, there was no way Justin Fields was going to slip to the Bears.
Yeah, I agree.
20.
Especially if this rumored Aaron Rodgers thing is not playing for the Packers. We will have to check on whenever that takes place. If it's anywhere near a show we're doing, I'm just going to go ahead and we're just going to lead in the show with him. Pete, you're not even going to talk. We're going to let him do his thing for like 12 minutes, and then we'll do the intro music, and then you can just lead in just to fulfill his need, his narcissistic need.
This has been this week's edition of the Team Rivals podcast. We'll just let him go because he'll do an hour, right? He'll do an hour on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm his father, so I can sit here and I can mute him. But at some point in time, I'm just going to have to let him go, and we're going to have to, none of us will be at our microphones. We'll be texting.
Cameras on still, though.
Yeah, cameras are on.
Right.
He's just going off left and
just
right.
Have a little hook with the headphones just hanging.
He's just firing off Scud missiles all over the place.
That's right.
He's killing innocent people. Yeah, there you go. He's just killing innocent people, taking people out at the knees, and we'll just let him do it for as long as he needs to until he gets it out of his system. I don't know what that means to the Packers. I don't follow college football whatsoever, guys. I don't know. I need football Viagra because I just don't care enough.
Well, they drafted a quarterback last year, and apparently that pissed him off.
Yeah. Right.
It pissed off Brady too.
Notify him.
Yep. And obviously he wasn't happy with the way that their season ended this year.
Yeah.
And the rumor is that he's informed them he has no intention of playing for them this coming season.
Wow.
And so the latest, and it's gone back and forth, is whether or not it is happening. Welcome to football talk, by the way.
Well, so
Team Rivals fans.
Yeah, and the rumor
the
is
latest is that he's going to get traded to the Broncos.
To the Broncos. Okay. Where did I read 49ers somewhere? It must have been on Twitter, which is always accurate.
I think they may have inquired.
Okay.
I think I saw that.
What's Garoppolo's not doing it for him? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, I think that at this point, I think they keep Garoppolo now because they selected Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And so, but he's only played 17 games in college ball, and you're not going to throw that kid out to face the NFL as a rookie. So
why the Bears did it?
Yeah. You have to imagine. You have to imagine that Garoppolo sticks around in San Francisco for another year.
Hey, Mike Nuttall is watching. Dad, we're talking about football. We're talking about the Bears. You may want to give it about 20. Well, I don't know. We're not going to stay on football too long, are we? I mean,
not too much.
We're not going to sit here through the whole damn draft. I will fall asleep. The card will just run out. And speaking of card, Pete, you wouldn't have happened to hit record on your board, would you?
I did not.
You son of a bitch. I'm going to have to rip the first, how long? 14 minutes?
That's all right.
Or just, we won't put this one out. We won't put the football portion out. We've had to do this so many times. Why can't I just recognize that the button's green and it needs to turn to red? And I should just do it well before you guys log on, because just
why not?
What in the brain just prevents me from doing that? I'd like to know.
That's all right.
Whatever.
It hasn't been terrible when we ripped it off of YouTube. It'll be fine.
No, it'll be fine. And then I always patch it in the middle.
So then what we should do, Ron, is right now, we should give you a nice clean break so that you can switch from the rip to your recording.
Yeah.
Are you recording now?
I am. Let's go. We're going to clap on 3. Ready? And I'll know. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Okay. That's the clean break to the audio. I hope people in their car actually hear the change in this.
Oh, God.
So
if they don't, we got a real problem.
I'm going to go a little bit out of order here because I'm a little fired up about something. It is baseball related, but it's not Cubs and it's not Cardinals. If you guys are ready to pivot off football at this point, you guys obviously
let's do it.
Keep an eye on the draft. If something really interesting happens, let's address it. But so a couple of things have happened 2 nights in a row with Little League baseball, and I'm talking Little League rec league. Right. So I coach my 7-8-year-old team. My son's 8, and he's Will, not named after Will Clark. He was, but anyway, my favorite player of all time. Hit a grand slam off Maddox in the '89 playoffs or something like that. It was beautiful. Anyway, I digress badly, but so I coach my 7-8-year-old. I let the 9-10-year-old graduate up another thing. I thought, man, he's had me as his coach since T-ball. He needs to hear somebody else. He's sick of me. I can tell it in his eyes. I can tell it in his soul. He does not want to hear his dad talk to him about his swing anymore, or to criticize that 1 year his mom signed him up for tennis lessons. It ruined his baseball swing, and he swings the bat like a tennis racket. She's tired of me saying that. She's right. It had nothing to do with that. But so, and I'm going off the rails here. Tonight we have a Little League game. It's a regular season, just 7-8-year-old. It's machine pitch, right? This contraption, if you guys don't know what it is, it's a spring-loaded contraption. You step on a pedal, you pull the lever, and it's pretty consistent. It throws at about the same speed, roughly the same height. Sometimes they get wild, but coaches sometimes don't know how to exactly place the ball on the little pin to get it to be consistently over the plate. Just that's to give you some context. It only throws at about 40 some miles an hour, so it's not we're not throwing Randy Johnson 98 mile an hour fastballs. We're definitely not throwing Genesis Cabrera 97 miles an hour fastballs at their jaw. Nope. But look, here's where I'm going with this: is that if you're most of the time, like 3 out of 5 coaches are pretty cool guys. You talk to the other head coach shortly before the game starts. You're like, hey, what do you want to do on the 5th pitch? If it's terrible, like if it hits the plate, kids have to swing at the 5th pitch if they're still batting. They have no choice. And I'm always with the other coach. I'm like, hey, look, if the ball hits the dirt, if it hits the plate, if it's way over their head, if it's just a terrible pitch, if they were forced to swing anyway, let's give them another one. Most guys are fine with that. And I'm just giving you an example. Most coaches are fine with, hey, if you don't have an ump there or something, or the ump didn't see the call, usually the 2 head coaches are like, whatever, man. He missed a tag. He didn't tag him. And the other coach is like, cool, thanks. There's 2 out of 5 head coaches for Little League Baseball that are miserable fucking assholes. And I ran into one tonight. I could smell it before the game started because he's already quoting rule books. He's already throwing this stuff around. Now, he's trying to be polite. I appreciate that. I'm like, look, all of me and my assistants are pretty easygoing guys. They're 7 and 8. We just want them to have fun, and ultimately, we just want them to get a little bit better by the end of the year and learn a little bit. They're 7 and 8. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're the same way. He was not the same way. It started out once we put up a score. They leapfrogged us. We went ahead by a lot, and it just got nasty after that. It was your player couldn't advance. He has to go back to first. No, an outfielder cannot run the ball into the infield. Both my runners get to advance, and I'm just sitting back there, and I'm like, I'm not one to really like. These are 8-year-olds, man. I don't care. Fine, have your guys take the base. Call your league and claim a victory. I don't give a shit. Protest it. I don't care. He kept it up to the end of the game. So he's throwing rules at us left and right. And I've got a couple dads for the players that are, if I had a mute button like I do for Elliot when he gets excessively loud in the background, I wish I could do it. And a couple of my dads were, I'm like, guys, come on. This is not worth even barking at the other coach for. This went on and on and on. He's throwing rules at us all game. Literally, before we could get our catcher in his gear, it's a challenge getting a 7-year-old in catching gear, right? Because they alternate positions. I alternate my guys almost every inning because I want them all to play a little bit of everywhere. And you'll see some coaches, the competitive one, the 2 out of 5 dickheads I'm talking about, will have his best guys at the same position like most of the innings throughout the game. That's how you smell them, folks. If you're ever thinking about coaching in Little League, this is how you detect these guys or gals or whoever it is. So I don't have my catcher out there or my right fielder and I have a challenge. I have one kid. He's a sweet kid. I love him to death. He doesn't care about anything that's going on with baseball. My assistant's trying to get him in right field. He's running to the foul pole just to touch it. And the coach for the other team is on the pitching machine. He turns out and says, "You guys only have 90 seconds and I'm starting." And I was like, at that point, Pete, a little fuse blew in the back of my head. I'm like, go ahead and throw it then. Go ahead and pitch. I really don't care. My catcher's not back there. It's going to be like 1 or 2 pitches where he's not back there. It's not going to matter. We were already ahead by like 7 runs. And little things like that kept happening. And finally, my assistant who lives nearby, his fuse blew. And I thought, oh, shit. There's going to be a Little League dad fist fight here at the ballpark tonight. And it damn near happened at the end of the game. He threw the rule book at us the whole game. I was giving his kids extra pitches because the machine got a little wild. I was trying to be polite, nice. I'm like, it's rec league. I don't care. Finally, when the 90-minute mark hit, remember the 90-second thing. I'm going to bring it back to you. Okay. When the 90-minute mark hit, we were up by, I think, only 2-3 runs. And we were visitors. And it was 8:01. We started at 6:30. And went into their dugout. They just batted. They didn't score. I'm like, all right, boys, get up on the line. He's like, what's going on? Like, it's 90 minutes, remember? 90 seconds, but it's 90 minutes. We can't start a new inning. We'll see ya. Great game, guys. Double middle fingers to you, dickhead. You just lost. You throw the rule book around the whole game for no reason. I'm flexible. I don't care. But I'll just go ahead and pull it on you at the very end. And it's very likely top of his lineup was coming up. They could have put more runs across, but whatever. You went past 90 minutes, so you. Little League coaches are terrible. 2 out of 5, are awful. And you know why kids sometimes lose interest and don't want to play? It's not because they think the game's boring. A good percentage of those kids is because of you assholes. They don't want to play anymore because they don't want to be around people like you. So anyway, we can cut this out, Pete. Right? But I'm just saying, this is a baseball-related show primarily. And I'm just saying, Little League coaches, if you think scouts are out there to watch your 7 or 8-year-old, if you think your record is somehow going to be in the paper and a college is going to hunt you down someday because you won that league in Huntersville, ain't going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. Check yourself. You're completely off your rocker. Whoever, I don't know this coach's name, and if I knew it, I wouldn't throw it out. His assistants were embarrassed by him. And they said so after the game. So, you know what? In case you happen to be a closet Cubs fan and just happen to listen to this someday because you heard about it, yeah, I'm talking about you, dickhead. Yes, the Huntersville coach. For for the team is labeled black because their uniforms are black. So you know who you are. You're a miserable dick. And I'm glad we beat you tonight. Yes, and I pulled the time card on you. Fuckface, because you did it every inning to my kids.
Come on now. We know that he's a Cardinals fan.
Probably a Reds fan.
Quite possible.
How would you know? You wouldn't be able to see.
That's true.
Yeah.
I actually can't see Reds fans. They're blacked out. They're just fuzzy to me. I can't even see their faces. That's what Major League Baseball does.
That's why his team's black. They're not actually black. They're red. It's just you can't see it. You're not allowed. Right. You're just not allowed, Ryan.
You're not. It's amazing. We won't go into the blackout restrictions today, but guys, I did go a week without baseball. I mean, I could not watch live baseball for a week. Last week we recorded the show. It was a preamble to me being blacked out for an entire week. It's posted. So
along those lines, I got to watch part of my first baseball game last night.
Part of my first baseball game. No kidding.
Because it was on Fox Sports 1. So I actually can stream that. So I got home and I got to watch the Cubs play last night for a couple of innings. And then I turned it off because the Cubs suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, they don't suck. I'm going to borrow from Carlos Zambrano.
There we go.
Tommy Boyd.
We're about what, 10 years on now?
Yep.
Yeah.
We stinks.
We stinks. Is that like Gollum would say it?
No, that's how Carlos would say it.
Okay.
Carlos Zambrano says we stinks.
Okay.
He said we stinks.
As he's beating the shit out of a Gatorade cooler. Okay.
Yep.
Let's perfect segue, Pete. And let's just start with you guys because if I could frame it up in just a phrase, they've lost the will to live.
The Cubs?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
So go ahead, guys. Go right into it. We're talking about the Cubs.
You know what? I had something prepared. Elliot, tell you what. Elliot, you go first. Because I don't want to, Elliot, what I have prepared, it's going to be hard to top. So I don't want to steal any thunder from you. So you go first.
In these last few days, the most enjoyment I had was last night's Anthony Rizzo striking out Freddie Freeman. And
that was actually exactly when I turned the game on.
Yeah, I got the notification. I looked at it. I laughed. I was like, that's great. I'm like, at least there was some bright spot in that game yesterday. And then kept going on with what I was doing because after the first inning, there was no reason to watch that game.
Yeah, I had to work late. I got home. It was obviously out of hand because I turned the TV on and I was like, is that Rizzo? And then the pitch came across the plate at 64 miles an hour. I was like, yep, it's Rizzo. I thought he had said that he was done. I thought that he had hung it up as a reliever. So
still a 0 ERA.
Still, right. Right. And he got what, 2/3 of an inning?
No, 2/3 of an inning.
Yeah,
he got Acuna to ground out, and then he struck out Freddie Freeman.
And the grin on Freddie Freeman's face when he struck out was priceless. So
that was awesome.
But you're right. That's been like the highlight of the year so far because it's been so terrible. And I had all these thoughts bubbling up in my head. And then I thought, you know what? I can't do better than what has already been done. So I'm just going to give over my time to a classic.
I'll tell you one fucking thing. I hope we get fucking hotter than shit just to stuff it up them 3,000 fucking people that show up every fucking day. Because if they're the real Chicago fucking fans, they can kiss my fucking ass right downtown and print it. They're really, really behind you around here. My fucking ass. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Go out there and let my fucking players get destroyed every day and be quiet about it for the fucking nickel-dime people that show up? The motherfuckers don't even work. That's why they're out at the fucking game. They ought to go out and get a fucking job and find out what it's like to go out there and a fucking living. 85% of the fucking world's working. The other 15 come out here. The fucking playground for the cocksuckers.
Whoa.
Rip them motherfuckers. Rip them cocksuckers like the fucking players. Got guys busting their fucking ass and them fucking people boo. And that's the Cubs? My fucking ass. They talk about the great fucking support that the players get around here. I haven't seen it this fucking year. The name of the game is hit the ball, catch the ball, and get the fucking job done. Right now, we have more losses than we have wins. The fucking changes that have happened in the Cub organization are multifold. All right, they don't show because we're 5-14. And unfortunately, that's the criteria of them dumb 15 motherfucking percent that come out to day baseball. The other 85% are earning a living. It'll take more than a 5-13 or 5-14 to destroy the makeup of this club. I'll guarantee you that. There's some fucking pros out there that want to fucking play this game. But you're stuck in a fucking stigma of the fucking Dodgers and the Phillies and the Cardinals and all that cheap shit.
all
these
shit.
motherfucking editorials about Say and fucking the Phillyitis and all that shit. It's sickening. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's a disheartening fucking situation we're in right now. 5-14 doesn't negate all that work.
So we have a vacuum in the background.
Games left. What I'm trying to say is don't rip them fucking guys out there. Rip me. If you want to rip somebody, rip my fucking ass. But don't rip them fucking guys because they're giving everything they can give. But once we hit that fucking groove, it'll flow. And it will flow. The talent's there. I don't know how to make it any clearer to you. I'm frustrated. I'll guarantee you I'm frustrated. It'd be different if I walked in this room every day at 8:30 and saw a bunch of guys that didn't give a shit. They give a shit, and it's a tough National League East. It's a tough National League period.
Oh, thank you, Elia.
Well, you
thank
know that
you for that
classic. You know that at least had to predate 1995 because he said the National League East, which is the last time the Cubs were in.
Yeah,
the National League East. So, who was that again?
It was Lee Elia.
Wow,
1983, April 29th of 1983.
The Cubs won the division the next year.
Yep.
Was that somebody with a vacuum in the background?
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for the special appearance by the vacuum cleaner in the middle of the manager's post-game press conference.
I could just see like some lady smoking a cigarette, vacuuming.
Yeah, in the back. Yes, that's right. The clubhouse attendant had the Electrolux on the sleds with the yeah.
Yep, and she's sitting there thinking, "Shut the fuck up, Lee. You do suck."
Oh, that is a treat. 1983. I didn't think it would be that recent, and that might show my age. But I'm like, that is a profanity-filled tirade there. That's beautiful.
Yep, 38 years to the day.
38 years to the day, and he'd probably be saying the exact same thing right now. Well, not the exact, but pretty close to it. You guys are certainly feeling that, right? Not that the media is beating up on anybody, but as fans who 5 years, 4.5 years, whatever, away from the pinnacle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a trench you find yourself in. I mean, it was kind of a decline, but now all of a sudden, over the last 18 months, it's been a sharp drop off, and I'm actually surprised as a Cardinal fan. I said before the season started, I'm like, a sleeper team in the National League Central for me was Chicago, because not that I thought they'd be in last place, but just because the talent that still exists on that roster, if they played to potential, could definitely compete. And there's pitching there, and there's moves that could have been made to fortify the pitching, regardless of getting rid of Yu Darvish. I still thought that, this is, yes, it was predating Nolan Arenado, but I think even after that, I was still like, Chicago could be dangerous. They could give people a very hard time because there's still talent on the roster. And who knows? I mean, if the team's 20 games above 500 midseason, getting up trade deadline, maybe they get a bug in them where they've got another run and they make something happen. But it doesn't appear that that's going to go that way at all. In fact, it's going way worse than what even my worst fear was of Chicago rising again. And Javier Baez being Javier Baez, and Rizzo being Rizzo, and Bryant being Bryant, and whoever else. I didn't think it would end up quite like this. This is
well, at this point, Bryant is being Bryant. Bryant is playing at the level that he was in 2016. I mean, he's making contact. He's healthy. He's doing well.
But
Contreras
what's the quality of his contact, though? Is his hard hit percentage up? Is everything good? We'll get into that later.
I mean,
I don't care.
He's got what, 7 home runs already. That's all he hit last year.
So he's smelling free agency coming around the corner in a trade, and he's does that look? I'm not saying this is what he's doing. You know, he's dealt with injuries the last few years, and there is maybe some lingering unhappiness with the way his service time thing was happened, right? And baseball has to they have to take a good hard look at that. You know, it's amazing. And I look at Marcell Ozuna too, guys, and I know he dealt with shoulder issues, right? So I don't want to be unfair to these guys because injuries very well could have played a part in why they didn't perform over the last few years. But somehow, some way, almost without fail, when a player that you know can be an all-star caliber level shows up in their walk year, guys, doesn't make you go, what the fuck? I mean, where was that gear last year or the year before? Is it not just as being a plain human who can see with your own eyes? Like, don't we always look at this and go, walk year? Like, fuck, really? I mean, where was that internally last year or the year before that?
Yeah, is it where these guys are they training harder that off season because they know they're going to be in a walk year? Is there more focus there that isn't normally there during the year? I mean,
I think in Chris Bryant's case, was he more careful last year and then into this through this off season in making sure that he was healthy as compared to years past when he got injured and he tried to tough his way through it. Right. And this just goes to prove, and I think that the Cubs in particular have been bad about it. This proves that, for most players, playing at 90% of your capability isn't good enough. You really do need to be 100%. 100%. You're not helping your team.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. Sometimes are you playing to not really screw yourself up because you're one shot at that huge payday is coming up, and do you dial it back? Which is you would think that competitive athletes don't do that. But Trevor Williams talked about it before the season started. Because people were commenting on how good he had looked even during preseason. That's continued into the season, and he said that after his injury, he felt fine. But that his body, and he came back early, but he felt fine, and his body was compensating, even though he never really caught it. And it took that long. Like, he literally had to be broken down and built back up by the Cubs because he had unconsciously compensated for an injury that he had suffered, 3 years ago? So, I mean, that may be the market inefficiency that nobody's doing is telling your players, no, you're going to stay until you're 100% healthy, not until you feel 100%. Yeah. We're going to keep you on the IL an extra week. Speaking of the IL, you've got two guys on, Ron, and two pretty big names. Yeah. So the biggest name right now being Yadier, who's actually having one of the best starts offensively to a season he's ever had. Right. And I know that, Andrew Kisner, his backup, who would be starting for a lot of other teams right now, is off to a good start as well, given the opportunity. But we saw Yadier hobble on his foot, I think, the last series, and he sat out the next two games, played, and then was put on the IL. This is a classic case, I think, of Yadier trying to, wanting to play so bad that he's. And just realized after coming back that one game, like, oh shit, this is something's wrong, and he's in a boot. So he's going to be there for a little while. Luckily, we have, I think, a very capable backup. Not a backup that I'm willing to go out there and say, hey, this is the best catcher we have. Thank God Yadi's on the IL. That would be stupid. But amazingly enough, some people think that already. They thought that last year, that Andrew Kisner was the best catcher in the organization. But yeah, I mean, it sucks, but thankfully we have him. And yes, guys, I'm thinking forward to 2022. I'm actually been shocked by how well Yadi has done this year. Not that I didn't think he was capable of doing it, but gosh, being at that age at a position that's so demanding on your legs and on your body. He's just he's making it happen, and I believe a lot of it's just sheer will. His preparation, his competitiveness, it's impressive. I'm going to enjoy every bit of it while he's still playing. But I also think about this other kid who deserves a chance, and I hope he gets it at some point. But damn, I mean, it's a strange position to be in, wanting to hold on to some of those your last vestiges of your last World Series championship, your dynasty that you had, and you still have them. You still have two parts there, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina, and you want to enjoy so much the last year. At the same time, there's somebody behind Molina that deserves a shot, that he needs to start playing. I know it's a strange position to be in, man. Flip a coin. I hope it's not a serious injury. I hope he can come back and finish. If this is his last year, I hope he finishes it how he wants to, and he's fulfilled, and he leaves everything on the table. He can walk away thinking, I've got, I gave it everything I've got, and that's it. I gave this organization everything. I believe when he walks away, I think he's the type of guy that will walk away when he has just got nothing left to give. And this year might be it, but we'll see. Yeah. So those are the, that's the biggest of the two, Pete, by far. I mean, he's the team captain. He's the middle linebacker. He's receiving the signals from the sideline, telling the defense what to do. And that's what he's been best at his whole career. But offensively, he's certainly he's more than carried his weight this year. I mean, I don't know where they would be if he hadn't performed how he has at the plate. So,
and oddly enough, this could quite possibly be the best thing for the Cardinals long term, because it gives Kisner an opportunity to actually play. Mm-hmm. You know that Yadi's going to come back at some point, and it avoids the ugliness and fallout of Yadi having to be benched, or of Kisner continuing to spend another year on the bench.
Yeah, it's tough,
and having his development stunted.
It's really tough, and it's even hard for me to use the word stunted because it's Yadi. Like, it's a Hall of Fame, it's a Hall of Fame guy, it's a legacy guy, and you hate to say that, but yes, it is. And in a way, it is blocking Andrew Kisner. Not on purpose, not in a malicious way, not in a selfish way, but it is, because anywhere else right now, he'd be getting his opportunity. Mm-hmm. Just about anywhere else, he'd be getting his opportunity. So I see it both ways, and it's like choosing your favorite kid. Not that Andrew Kisner is my favorite or anything, but it's like choosing which out of your children, which one's your favorite. It honestly is one of those positions that you're in where you just don't quite know what you want to do. Anyway, that's a little bit of the injury update. I think the big story coming out of, you got something else?
The big story coming out of St. Louis, obviously, is the return of Blonde Boy. He's back.
As Gino likes
now
to
your
call
offense really takes off.
As Gino likes to call him, Project Runway. Yes, Harrison Bader's on the cusp of coming back. Tyler O'Neill did come back, which when Tyler O'Neill came off the IL, Matt Carpenter went almost permanently to the bench. Now he's made some opportunities happen for himself. He had a pinch hit opportunity today and ended up with a 3-run home run. I don't know if you guys saw the play or not, but it was a really great effort by the Phillies outfielder. The name escapes me right now, but he almost had it. It was like in and out of the glove, but it ended up being a 3-run home run. But Carpenter's still batting under 100. And I won't go on the tirade about exit velocity, how well he's hit the ball, when he's hit the ball. It's still
expected
feel
Woba
the same way that he's a bench player right now. Absolutely, there's no questioning it. There's no even fighting it. If you're fighting it, you're just looking for a reason to. You're trying so desperately to rationalize and find a way to justify that he's still a starter. He's just not. So if he can service a valuable bench role, some kind of bat to bring off the bench in a key situation, great. Hey, that's fine. Hey, look, I have no problem with them seeing if that can happen. Yes, Tyler O'Neill came back, and that allowed that to happen. Tommy Edman is in the infield. It's where he should be. O'Neill's a really good outfielder. He's really fast on the base paths. I like the outfield as it sits right now. But yes, Bader coming back. He'll be in center field. They're going to start playing him there when he does. Carlson will move to right. He's proven that he can handle center field. He had a really good put out today. And or an outfield assist today, a key play, really. And I like him in right field. I like Bader in center. O'Neill, we all know, can play left field. I mean, hell, he's a Gold Glove left fielder, whatever that means in baseball. Not much, I don't think. But still, the bottom line is you have 3 guys in the outfield that can all play starting center field roles. That means you got a really good defensive outfield. Dylan Carlson has been looking great, and I'll tell you why. One of the big things that happened, finally, I put a video out about it on Twitter. People liked it because, because I was pissed off because I couldn't watch the games because they were playing Cincinnati. Mike Schultz finally put Paul Goldschmidt in the 3rd slot, Arenado in 4th, because he finally moved Dylan Carlson up into 2nd. Right? That kid's had to work his way up from like batting 8th all the way up to 2nd. And all I wanted to see was if you put capable bats behind Dylan Carlson, not a pitcher, or not Matt Carpenter or anybody else behind him, like somebody actually the pitcher has to think about. I wanted to see what he could do. And he's made the most out of that opportunity. Finally, like what's amazing about it is I know these guys have analytics departments. I know that they see these guys with their own eyes every day. What's amazing about it is all the fans, even me, everybody else who's watched this team over the last few years, all were saying this. All of us were. Please, for the love of God, put him at number 2 and just see how this plays out, because we think it will work. So yes, we're fans. And yes, we're not insiders, and we don't have the access you guys have. But we all saw what Mike Schultz should have been doing day 1, opening day. He should have been batting 2nd. You should have had your 3 and 4 hitters. And I don't care what people say. You can throw any stat or whatever you want at me that your most productive hitter is number 2. Great. How do you trade for Goldschmidt and then Arenado and claim that you don't have a cleanup hitter? That's fucking insane. Like, it's stupid. Paul Goldschmidt is not a number 2 hitter. He's 3 or 4 or 5. That's where he belongs. Like, would you guys bat him anywhere else?
No.
I know some crazy shit's had to happen in Chicago where Rizzo had to lead off and stuff, but, I mean, seriously, like, you don't bat that guy number 2. So this has happened. We've all been calling for it. And yes, it's worked. So what do you think the fan base, does that raise their confidence level in management and their departments when the fan base has been saying fucking bat him 2nd and bat your 3 and 4 hitters 3 and 4, and you finally do it and it's working? Like, that gives us a ton of confidence in Jeff Albert, scouting department, analytics, and everything, because we've all been saying it. You haven't done it. You finally did it, and it's working. So you're way smarter than we are. You're way more advanced, and you haven't fucking proven it. What do we know? We're all armchair GMs.
That's right.
Except we were right and you were wrong for like 24 games.
Yes.
So that's my Cardinals.
So Ron, was Hennessy trying to kill Bryce Harper? I mean, all I saw were the highlights. Did something happen before that, or
no?
Did you put out a hit on Bryce Harper?
No. When Bryce Harper was coming up into the league, I didn't like the antics. I actually am I'm not saying I'm a big fan or I have a poster of him in my house, but I'm a fan of how he plays with the passion that he plays with and the fire that he plays with. I like that. I think a lot of teams that are dead and treading water could use players with that kind of attitude, with a Tommy Pham type of attitude, with the Harper type of attitude, guys that hustle, swing hard. I like him. I tell you what, even me I was watching. I saw that play live. Thank you, Major League Baseball, for allowing me to do that, by the way. You're so generous that you let me watch a game. I saw it, and man, I cringed. And you feel a sick feeling in your gut. 97-mile-an-hour fastball that just catches little skims off the shoulder and hits him right in the damn cheekbone and barely gets his nose. I mean, dude, guys, that was millimeters from ending a career.
Yeah.
And it makes you buckle. And I guarantee you, from what I picked up on Twitter and everything else, like Cardinal fans felt the same way. Like, Jesus Christ. I genuinely mean this. When he put out that little Twitter video that he was fine, I felt way better because I was worried about that. I mean, you hear guys about that getting screwed up and they're just never the same after that. And thank God he's fine.
Yeah.
And Cabrera, look, he's faced hundreds of major league batters. He's only hit like 2. Somebody threw out the stat. He's only hit like 2. What was crazy is he hit the next guy, like the very next pitch, and hit him in the back. And at that point, here's the thing. The St. Louis manager, Mike Schilt, his hands are tied because of baseball's stupid goddamn rule that you have to leave him in for 3 batters. Mike Schilt can't take him out. The umpires, the only way out of this, Pete, is if he gives some kind of secret signal, you're injured. Grab your elbow. Do something because we got to get you out of there. Or the umpires should have thrown him out and said, this guy's going to kill somebody. He hit somebody with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball and a 95. Shit's going to get out of hand here. As an umpire, I'm going to take control of the situation. I'm going to toss him from the game. That's the only way out of it. Mike Schilt had no recourse. He could not take him out. So,
but the umpires have not covered themselves with glory in the last 24 hours.
No,
I mean, first of all, that blown call in Milwaukee. I don't know if you saw it.
It was awful.
I didn't see that, but I read all about it. So
horrible call. I don't know. One, how you miss it in the first place, but 2, how you don't fix it with instant replay.
Right.
But then Major League Baseball has such stupid rules sometimes that you have to warn both benches. What are you warning the Phillies bench for?
They shouldn't have. And
no.
Pete, a lot of Cardinal fans, me included, felt like, no, that shouldn't have been done. In fact, I think the best thing that umpire could have done, and maybe there's some way he couldn't, I don't understand. He should have thrown him out of the game.
Or you know what? You can't throw him out of the game, right? Because you got to write up a report.
Yeah.
You got to write up a report and you got to say why you threw him out, and he's going to get some kind of blowback for that. But why not call Schilt out to the mound and say, I think your guy's hurt?
Yeah.
Right. An umpire can do that.
Sure. But is there the thing that, do you have to put him on the IL for that reason or not? I mean, I don't know what the nuances of that are, but I understand what you're saying. Look, I guess my point is, like, if you saw Cabrera's body language, it's a 3-3 game. It's late innings. He didn't mean to do that. I firmly believe that. But it happened nonetheless. And you know what? I've never felt better about a team scoring on that opportunity than Andrew McCutchen hitting a knock to left center field and scoring the run. And as a Cardinal fan, I'm never rooting for my team to lose, but I've never felt less bad about a loss than yesterday. Yeah. Because, and I mean that sincerely, that it couldn't have a better guy couldn't have knocked in the run in Andrew McCutchen. We all love him. There's nothing to hate about the guy, but it was an ugly situation. Really bad look for Cabrera, but I firmly believe, and I think you guys even do too, that this kid did not mean to do that. He's pitched to over 100 major league batters. He had no control one night. He was trying to make something happen. He lost control, hit somebody in the worst possible place up top. Like, you never want to do that. I guarantee you the kid feels like shit. The good news is that, Harper's reached out to him. They've exchanged, like, I understand it was not intentional and everything. So that's all great. Joe Girardi coming out to defend his guys. Duh. We all knew that was going to happen. And Joe Girardi made me proud, being from Central Illinois.
In a fashionable way.
He tried to throw the umpire out, which was is brilliant. I mean, I thought that was great. And he did exactly what he was supposed to do as a manager. He's defending his guys. He barked at the Cardinals pitcher. And you know what? Yadier wasn't behind the plate. I don't know if he would have barked back at Joe for yelling at the pitcher or not, but Andrew Kisner sure as hell did not.
Yes, Yachty would have started a brawl.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but in this kind of situation,
because I'm not. We know I'm not wrong. Yachty would have started. And this is where I mean, all the respect in the world for what he's accomplished and for his talent, but his temper in this case was not needed, and it was actually a good thing that he was not in that game, because he would have started a brawl.
Yeah, you could be very well right about that, but
he would have punched somebody.
In fact,
he would have punched somebody, and they would have got kicked out.
Yes, and the Cardinals would have gotten a compensatory draft pick.
That's right.
And the Rockies would have had to pay for it.
That's right. Speaking of which, just real quickly, don't the Cardinals owe some kind of front office position for Jeff Bridich? I'm not talking about the general manager, but really, I mean, he's the St. Louis Executive of the Year. So they really should compensate him now that he's looking for a new job.
Yeah. That's strange how that works out, right? You're willing to trade your star, and then like what, month or two later, you're letting the guy who is the architect of that deal, or at least on paper, right? The architect of the deal, you're letting him go because you're changing directions. Like, wouldn't you think you would have changed directions before you used your biggest trade chip that you possibly had?
I mean, doesn't this pretty much guarantee that Trevor Story is not going back to Colorado?
It does.
This team is terrible. Yeah. They're the worst team in baseball, which I can't believe I'm saying because the Pirates are in our division. But they're the worst team in baseball. They've already traded away their best player or their second best player. What incentive is there for Trevor Story to remain in Colorado? Dude gonna get paid this offseason.
Yeah, he will. I mean, and especially since Lindor's off the market, right? So
yeah,
he's gonna be.
And Javi Baez sucks.
Is he? I don't know. I don't want to ask questions about Baez. I still think the guy's good, but I think he's in an odd world right now. That's the best way I can put it. He's just an odd world.
He's
right now.
completely lost. Yeah. He's completely lost. And look, not to break my own arm, patting myself on the back, but Ian Happ has regressed to what Ian Happ is.
He's striking out a lot again.
Hey, Elliot,
I'm tired.
Pete brings up a really good point. If you saw him in a sling one day, would you think it was like a sports injury or a work injury, or would you be like, oh, he's patting himself on the back again?
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's
Ian Happ. Michael Cerami needs to take Ian Happ's dick out of his mouth and apologize to Chicago fans, because I don't know anybody who has a bigger heart on for Ian Happ than Cerami. And he's not good. Can we finally accept it? He is not good.
Yeah.
He's not.
He's one of those players that drive you nuts.
He had a couple of hot streaks at the end of 2019. So small sample size. And then he was fairly hot for the majority of 2020, small sample size. And now, granted, small sample size. But if we look at the entirety of Ian Happ's career, more bad than good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that echoes Cardinals fans, people that really have just an uncontrollable erection for any minor leaguer that's on the cusp of coming up. And when you get like 100, 200, 300 at bats and they still aren't good enough to start for most major league teams, which you think they're the world, we experience the same thing. So it happens. It has to happen to every team. Like the next guy coming up is going to be the savior, and it's like rarely is it ever the savior, but there's still that Alamo of fans who just refuse to give up on him. It's always like
I don't know if there's anybody to replace him though.
But there's not. And actually, Elliot, that's a great point, because I was just thinking that.
Yeah, what's your alternative?
Like the Cubs
there's no alternative to having Ian Happ.
Brennan Davis, but he's still a year or two away.
Oh yeah, that was kind of my first thought. I'm like, but he's way too early.
And bringing a guy up too early,
you would ruin that kid by bringing him up and trying to play him in the major leagues at this point
against this vicious National League Central. That's just he might feast on it, man. You never know. I mean,
yeah.
You look at it. The Cubs' Achilles heel. It's not been pitching. It's been developing outfielders.
Wait a minute.
When was the last time?
Hold our beer. Hold our beer for a second.
Wait, you guys have a ton of outfielders.
No. We actually, no. That's not fair, because we develop really good outfielders, but we end up trading the good ones away. I mean, that's just
right.
That's just what we do. Okay, there was a point last week or the week before. I was looking. I've seen all the home run updates throughout the league, and I see Randy Arozarena, Randall Grichuk, Tommy Pham, and I think I saw another Cardinal minor leaguer. I'm like, no shit. And it was all like 3 or 4 of them in a row on their scroll thing. And I'm like, here we go. Cardinals Twitter is going to take notice of this at some point, and there's going to be a screenshot. And no shit, within like 13 seconds, somebody had a screenshot of their TV listing this off. Say, hey, way to go, guys. But Harrison Bader's coming back.
Hey, but at least Nico Horner has looked pretty good for us so far.
Has he? I know his stat line has been good, but I don't know how he's looked. Because
he's looked good. Defense has been
watch.
good.
Can't watch a game.
Well, that's true.
Games on ESPN Plus all the time. Can't watch it.
I did find a website.
Guys, talk a little bit. I want to go to one of the things, and it made me smile. It really did. It generally was one of those moments in baseball where there's a little bit of levity. It's not so serious. It's not so. I'm going to kick your ass. The Cubs are down 12-0. Anthony Rizzo's called in to face the lefty. Just it really was a great moment. I mean, I've watched that video 2 or 3 times today, and I never watch Cubs shit more than once because I usually get puke in my mouth a little bit. But this is really entertaining clip, and I have no problem watching it again. But it was fun. He struck out a Hall of Famer who's going. Yeah. Freddie Freeman's going to be a Hall of Famer. Anthony Rizzo can say, even if he's not a Hall of Famer first baseman when he retires, he's going to say, "Hey, look, not only was I an all-star first baseman, I struck out a Hall of Fame first baseman.
Not only was I an all-star first baseman, not only did I help lead the Cubs to their first World Series in 108 years, but yeah."
And the week before, I got him in a rundown and made him start laughing as he was going back to second.
Yeah. He's a really fun player. I mean, I'll give him that. Like in a game sometimes that is all about numbers and it takes the humans out of the game, which baseball has, and people who have never played, who only look at numbers. Stuff like this brings human element back into the game, and that's why I enjoy it so much. You know, because humans are unpredictable. Like we can make a different decision on any day. We can treat a situation over the top serious, which makes most of our collective penises soft when people get too serious about stuff. Certainly does mine. I like to laugh. I like to smile at things, and I like to feel good about things. And I will say this: a Cubs player actually made me crack up last night and smile at the game again. Guys, it doesn't happen as often as it needs to. And I'm not just a crotchety old man. It just needs to happen.
I agree. And that's the part of the whole let the kids play thing that I'm okay with is if they're having fun with it, you know, and like it comes across as being genuine to their personality. And you're right. This does not seem like you're right. Anthony Rizzo seems like this guy, right? He seems like he is the life of the party. And he is always, I mean, you remember last year, first game of the season, he had hand sanitizer at first base for the first, right? Like
offering up to the,
that's who he is.
Yeah. You know what? Baseball could use a little bit more of that in a lot of areas and not so much. Look, I love competitiveness. I love guys that are fiery and just want to win. Like every team needs a little bit of that. You need a mix, but that's the key. Like you need balance and you need a mix. You need people that are willing to have fun to make the game entertaining. You do need bat flips, which you never would have heard me say like 15 years ago. But you actually do. Now, do you need them at the right time? Of course. You can't have a scripted celebration. You can't have a Terrell Owens hiding a Sharpie in the goalpost to sign a ball. Like that's scripted stuff. That's not genuine. When you have genuine joy and you know, that reaction to you had success, you helped your team win. That's always a pass, man. I mean, I always love that stuff, but there is a difference.
And you know what, Ron? Actually, now that you mention it, that's what bugs me about most of the bat flips, is that there isn't emotion connected to them. They're scripted. It's what that player, Marcell Ozuna taking a selfie. The Cubs were leading, what was it, 8-1, 8-2. Marcell Ozuna hit a home run and took a selfie of himself tonight. Hey, fucker, you're still down 5 runs. There was no reason for that bat flip. You look like an ass doing that. But if it's at the end of a 13 pitch at bat and you finally get something and you hit a home run,
we're all good with it.
If you hit a home run to tie or put your team up in a close game, I am totally fine with that. But doing a bat flip in the 7th inning because you hit a solo home run that it's not going to change the outcome of the game, you're just a preening dick.
Yeah. No, I 100% with you on that. I mean, when it doesn't do anything for your team, it becomes about you.
Right.
And another thing, Pete, when you see NFL receiver or running back or whatever getting a first down while your team's down by like 27 points and you go like this, that first down signal. Like, no, man, you didn't win shit. Your team's getting throttled and you're part of a team. And I think that's the disconnect. When all of a sudden it becomes about just you, it becomes harder for most of us to like take that. When you're genuinely joyous because you're helping your team get back into it or win, that's when it's like, okay, that feels more genuine. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that Tony La Russa, to his credit, never got pissed at another player for celebrating if it was genuine. When it was one of those scripted type of things, that's what he had an issue with. And I feel the same way. Not because of him, because I kind of relate to that. It's the same way I feel about it. When it's genuine, I have no problem with it.
Well, I feel like nowadays Tony La Russa is too drunk to even know what's going on in the dugout anyways. So
here we go.
Wow. Shots fired.
Yeah. Below the belt hit. Coming from the state wrestling champion.
Somebody's bitter that the better Chicago baseball team is on the south side.
I've got no problem.
He's doing
with
way
the White
worse
Sox.
than you. No, you do. And I can see it in your face. I can see it in your soul. Like you hate it.
Your black soul.
That's right. It's dark in there right now because of that.
It is.
Having all the fun over there on the south side. Fuck
all
those
right,
guys.
boys. Well, you know what? It's getting late.
Yeah, it is. Well, sit and stare at each other.
Fine.
There
thank you,
Thanks,
Pete. I was giving you your platform there to take us out, but thank you.
I gave you your cue.
No, I know you did, and I whiffed. I wasn't paying attention. I whiffed. I was not paying attention to what was going on.
Well, you know why? Because you were celebrating 90 minutes.
It was a sweet victory. I will savor this one. Tonight. So, yes, thank you for everybody who joined the chats tonight. We're sorry we don't always pay as much attention to those as what we should, but Greg, you're gold, buddy. You're always on there, and we appreciate you. Dad, my God. Dad was even on there. He made a comment. I'm not going to read it. But he was on there tonight, too. So thank you so much for everybody who joined tonight or watched live. If you're watching us on audio, look, join us live one night. Like, we're interactive. If you hit us up and you say, "Hey, man, I want to call in and talk to you guys," or "I want the link, I want my face on the screen," we'll let some of you in. We haven't heard from CJ for a while, and I think he got eaten by zombies at one point.
Yes,
over the pandemic. Haven't heard from him for a while, so I hope he's okay.
Yeah,
But
CJ, send us a flare up. Let us know that you're doing okay. We haven't
send us
heard
a
from you
Morse
in a while.
code signal or a ping or something so we know you're still alive, because we care about you. We care about our fans. We'll be back same time.
And if you want to be funny, CJ, make that flare just be brains.
That would be actually sweet. All right.
That would be hilarious.
All right, boys. I think it's time to leave. So we'll see you back here same time, same place next week. Thank you all so much. We love you. Bye-bye, everyone.